Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and here we are here to discuss the feature news for today, 12th of April 2022. Today's feature news is on World Energy Transition Report 2022, which is presented by IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. So let's discuss what this report has to speak about and also understand before that what has been the state of world affairs with regard to energy transition and how India has been faring in this index. India got a rank of 87 out of 110 countries on account of slow transition because of increased reliance on carbon-based energies, right? So this is a beautiful context to understand what is happening in India and around the world. See, India is one of the countries which has multiplied the energy usages in our country, right? So for example, we have doubled the energy consumption since the last 20 years. In the year 2000 and the year 2020, the energy consumption has doubled in the country, and this is destined to get doubled by 2040 again. And what are we dependent on? We are largely dependent on fossil fuel. Fossil fuel has been the major source of energy for our nation, right? You people know 60% of dependent on coal-based energy production, little on hydro, and after that nuclear, alternate, solar, wind are our dependents. But right now, majorly on the coal-based energy productions, right? So we are doubling the energy consumption. Not only that, right now we are largely dependent on petroleum from outside, gases from outside, and this amounts to almost $100 billion of imports. And again, this is supposed to rise by $180 billion in the next decade by 2030, and by $250 billion again by 2040. The point is, we got to reduce dependence on fossil fuel because this is what we have been importing, and we are solar rich country. We are a country with better wind energy. We must exploit and utilize them. So when the energy consumption is increasing, this is a very good thing, but it must become renewable, and that is what will make energy transition smooth and good for the country. This will also reduce import dependence, and we will also be able to take care of environment along with energy transition, and it will also be able to create better jobs, economy. We must look at providing sustainable economy, providing economy with the help of the social and environmental governance, right? So these are the major points. Right now, India is the 4th largest consumer of energy around the whole world. So topmost is what? USA or China? It has to be China, because China has the manufacturing hub. China has been also utilizing the maximum number of percentage of coal and fossil fuel dependence. So around 28% of fossil fuel dependence, maximum energy intake also by China, 14%, almost half of it by USA, and third is European Union, 7% plus, and so is India, around the same number. But India soon will overtake European Union altogether in a few years. So these are the 4 topmost associations or countries: China, USA, India as individual, and then Russian Federation and other countries, right? So this is about the present level of energy consumption around the whole world. But the energy mix in each of the countries is different. But when you look at the bigger countries, China, USA, India, these are the countries fighting at WTO. All of them ally when we speak of use of carbon and coal, primarily because all of these countries are dependent on the traditional sources of energy. So that's where Australia also lobbies. The countries of Gulf Cooperation Council start lobbying at petroleum, right? So this is the present state of world affairs. Now, when you look at, although this data is a little old, but then this is still good to understand the level of India when we talk of increase of energy usage. However, the per capita consumption in India of energy is dismal. It is very, very poor as compared to the whole world. Comparing this with the BRICS countries only, this is although almost 9 years old data, but then you would still see India located at only 900 kilowatt hour. And this is in comparison with South Africa, China, and Russia and BRICS countries, which are far above. So Russia 6 times more, South Africa 4 times more, China 3.5 times, and Brazil almost 2.5 times more in energy consumption per capita. Another important data to share with you is that we have provided electricity to 90 crore of people in the last 20 years. 90 crore people. We have not reached 100% of the population, but 90 crore people is what we have provided. 90 crore people less minus the population of those times were being given electricity in the year 1999. So imagine the usage has increased around the country, but then still the consumption is not as much as, or not even comparable to the developed world. Now let's compare with the developed world. Energy consumption in India is around 600 kilowatt hour. And this is very much comparable to Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, that's fine. But then when you look at a country like USA and Russia, they're at 7,000 units and India is at a meager 600. Imagine the per capita consumption of energy is very poor in a developing country, right? But if you start comparing this with the Indian states, the diverse usage is there. So the states which are industrial in nature, the states which are located at the ports, the states which have got better logistics, the states which have got better policies for labor management, those are the states where more energy usage is there. There is more development, there is more urbanization, they're all linked to each other. And this is how we produce the production, GDP, gross domestic product. Product happens when energy capita per capita is consumption is high. Few important parameters, although they might seem to be very simplistic, but then they are very keywords, they are important keywords for energy consumption. When we look at energy consumption, it needs to be reliable. We are looking at the unconventional or the renewable sources of energy right now. Electricity, providing electricity through sunlight, that must become more reliable with time. Providing wind energy, alternate fuel sources, must become more reliable with time. Is it reliable right now? It is not. So this is a challenge while we look at energy transition. The transition must be smooth. Not only that, it must become more affordable to people. We had studied just a few days back about the two-pronged approach of the tariff fixing of conventional sources. If you remember, we studied this on the coal, where there is a base price and there is a variable price. Variable price is dependent on the price of coal and the base price is always static. But it is not so for solar. And when it is not so for solar, this is where sometimes solar prices go very high as compared to coal. This energy must be made affordable for the masses, as simple as that. It must be made accessible. 90 crore people have access to it, but all the houses in rural areas do they have access? No, India is not 100% energy. 100% energy is not available to all the homes. Only 10%, the criteria being fixed for energy availability throughout the country was that 10% of the houses in the rural areas must have electricity. They must have electricity connections, and they installed 10% electricity connections in every village. They installed these connections at village panchayat and those important places of village administration, and that was all. But then, is it available at all the places, nook and corner of the village and far-flung areas? No. That's the reason that we need more reliability and more affordability of energy at those places. And equitable access must be there, not only in Ladakh, but also in Northeast, in undulated terrain, islands of the country, places which are inaccessible in forested areas. So very powerful terms, 4 terms, which must form the key components of energy transition in India, right? Along with this, you must also look at environment and the potency to be able to create employment in the country. Employment, environment, and energy. These must go along with each other, right? Okay. This is another point that must be highlighted. India is one of the countries which has received a lot of pollution, and we have covered this in WHO's report itself, right? Almost 99% of people living in those areas which are polluted, and the parameters for India's India's pollution index are not as stringent as WHO's, and yet many people are living in polluted areas. Now lately Delhi has initiated its summer action plan as well, just like winter action plan, for curbing the air pollution in the city. This is the city of Taj Mahal, Agra, and you see there's a pollution around in the whole spaces, right? So transportation, domestic cooking, industries, waste burning, dust, construction, diesel generators, all of them contribute to source of air pollution. So industries being one, right? Usage of vehicles, dust while construction happens. Domestic cooking is a source of indoor pollution. Diesel generators are source of pollution. Waste burning is a source of air pollution, and so is transportation. Look at this. And all this could be curbed by usage of the alternate fuel, right? What is that? Battery technology, hydrogen technology, wind energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, and so on and so forth, right? So, but then what is to be provided along with this? All these four things, right? Remember this. This is important for health as well. This is important for education as well. Now this is important for energy as well, right? Now, this is what I was speaking of, the energy sources. What we have as source of energy right now is coal, largely coal, 60% of coal energy being used. Hydel is 25%, but this is large hydel, which is not sustainable at places. It needs evacuation of people. It needs submergence of villages. It needs trees to be cut. It needs displacement of animals. That is not sustainable, right? I had visited Tehri Dam once, and it led to submergence of 250 villages. 250 villages, and that's why such a mass level of protest was there against Tehri construction. It led to the dam getting created and 1 kilometer of water being filled, 1 kilometer of vertical. It is, the depth is not 100 feet and 200 feet, it is 3,000 feet of depth, right? So large hydro is not possible. Create small hydro. Along with gas, the gas-based renewable consumption, nuclear energy consumption must increase. The share right now is very less, but then this is where we want to present to you what the Prime Minister presented, the Panchamrit, right? The 5 principles along with which India will be able to achieve the net zero emissions by 2070. Now, IRENA talks of, the Institute of Renewable Energy talks of the report where the world must achieve net zero by 2050. India ke alag targets, so that's fine. That is why India has been ranked low, no? So reaching non-fossil fuel energy capacity of 500 gigawatt by 2030. 50% of energy requirements by renewable energy by 2030. Right now also we have touched almost 50% capacity in installed capacity, not production. Installed capacity is high in renewable, but then they are not able to produce because they are not reliable. Because they are high in the investment is high, because maintenance is high, they're not being utilized because the costs are high. Reduce the carbon emissions, reduce carbon intensity, right? So usage of carbon, extra usage of carbon per unit, that must be reduced, making things more efficient and achieving net zero by 2070. These are India's target for the future. But when we look at the same report that was presented by an important organization, UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, we talk of the emission gap, the production gap, and what is the third gap? Can you please type in the comment section? The emission gap, the production gap, and the adaptation gap. The 3 gaps. If these are supposed to exist in our lives, how will we transit? The transition is, the real graph states that the transition is not happening in the right direction at all. If we had to move from Ahmedabad to Chennai, we are moving just opposite to it. We are moving from Ahmedabad to Jaipur. So, if this is the present level of production of coal-based energy, which is ideally it must happen, what we are producing is more than that. And what is required for maintaining temperature to be at 2 degrees Celsius by the end of century, this is the gap. And if we want the temperature to be maintained at maximum 1.5 degrees Celsius pre-industrial levels, this would be the rise. The gap is further high, and we have moved in the opposite direction. Where is the transition happening? This is the negative transition. So each time they speak of transition, this is the most important critique that you have. This will be your output in your examination. UNEP, production gap, adaptation gap, and production, adaptation, and what is the third one? Okay, all this, right? And there are ways, the report itself speaks of the energy transition outlook. It itself says there are various ways in which India and the world also can help in transition from the fossil based to different and renewable based. For example, if we are still using fossil, which we will be, so we can have carbon capture, fossil fuel based carbon capture, renewable energy based carbon capture. right? They can contribute, and they have also installed a program. Hydrogen based fuel, let's convert this to a mass level consumption. We'll start off. The road minister has also said that we will start off, but we must start building those vehicles then. Electrification, renewable energy consumption, and making things more energy efficient, so the carbon intensity gets reduced. So these are the ways in which we can look at energy transitions: renewables, energy efficiency, electrification. See, all of these three combining to contribute 70% of reducing emissions by 2050. This can be a major step, and hydrogen and other ways of carbon capture, they are important. See, 80% population of the whole world is located at those places where they are energy hungry. They import energy for themselves. Even when there is solar energy, even when there is wind energy, even when we can transit to a better energy systems. For example, why don't we wake up in the mornings and sleep at night? There are places where this is a choice that we can do this, but we don't do it. It's not a part of lifestyle and habit. It's not a part of lifestyle and habit to build green buildings, to have a sustainable living. So these are the contributions of energy efficiency or energy lesser efficiency. All right. Now moving back to our feature news. The feature news states that India's status on energy transition is 87 out of 110 countries. Why? Because we have been moving very slow on the account of radical action. We are very slow on taking any radical action towards cleaning our energy sources, right? The report has stressed that keeping the world on a 1.5 degree pathway will require the renewables account for at least 40% in the energy mix, which is currently at 14% only, right? So this is what is a challenge for a country like India. The decarbonization, the fair share in decarbonization is what we don't have right now. We are also the third largest emitter, right? After China and USA, we are the third largest emitter, but in energy hunger, fourth largest. The World Energy Transition Outlook, this speaks of a 1.5 degree temperature rise and bringing CO2 emissions to net zero by 2050. The same targets being given by Paris Climate. And then I have shown another image to you people. Yeah. So this speaks about the various energy which can be transited, right, off track and on track. Electrification with renewables, solar photovoltaic cell to be used, renewable technologies, innovative, annual wind energy. They have given an evaluation of the way in which this has progressed so far, and are they on track or not, right? An indicator. So this will keep changing, right? But the important points: India has to produce how many watt of energy through wind by 2030? All right, in 175 gigawatt capacity only. What was the target for wind? What was the target for solar? Solar 100, 60 and 40. 60 for 40 for the rooftop and 60 for the industrial capacity. Wind was 60 gigawatt, and then we also had bio-based and there was another one. All right, so bio and small hydel. I think small hydel was for 5 gigawatt and bio-based was 10. So total 175 gigawatt, right? You could remember that. So radical steps need to be taken, which we are devoid of right now. 80% of the global population lives in countries that are net energy importers. So we are energy hungry towards the end, and the priority areas are political will. Do we have political will? That is one question. Replacing coal power with clean alternatives, we need technology, international cooperation. This is where 2+2 dialogue, they met and they said we will cooperate on installing renewable in energy in India, right? So co-production, co-generation, phasing out of fossil fuels. This is where the critics of the UNEP report, production gap, emission gap, adaptation gap, you can put in. Infrastructure updates and upgrades, mainstreaming of green hydrogen, all right, good technology to be used, bioenergy, biofuel, right? Remember, I had spoken about a new way to find out the biotic resources available and reduction of the carbon fuel by 10% with the help of exploration of bioenergy. So use that example. Shifting towards electric vehicles, right? Only lately, today itself in the newspaper, or see, if you know these articles in totality once, right now, you would never find challenges. For example, today itself, there were reports in the newspapers that 10 electric vehicles, two-wheelers, have caught fire in the country. And the idea is to introduce standard operating procedures. We discussed this article in totality about the battery and the battery technology. So electric vehicles can be used, but do we have standard operating procedures in India? Do we have that kind of technology which is worthy for a country like India, or are they worthy for China? And then what are the ways in which we are going to make it more safer for people? Right. Similarly, there were issues talking about the food crisis. We've discussed this time and again. So you got to know about it once and for all, and then only headings, and then you will understand, yes, I know about it. All right. Energy efficient infrastructure is required. Give some cases of how energy efficient infrastructure can be created. Right. Kerala infrastructure around places like Bihar, where people used cow dung. Right, people used laterite soil to create infrastructure, and it was cooler than the surrounding temperature. Right, that's it. Okay, towards the 2050 goal, electrification, efficiency, renewable based energy. Right, all that is required. Decarbonization, same things. The opportunities are the same, challenges are the same, and then threats are also the same, provided we look at it from that particular perspective. Right, so this is the possibility. Decarbonization, investments must increase. It will lead to creation of jobs in the country. So what is required? If you look at this image taken from the report itself, policy and regulations, political will. That is what is political will. We require technology participation amongst countries. Absolutely. Capacity building of people, training and empowering of people and countries, planning of resources and planning of energy transition, delivering and financing models. Have a look at this. This is what we spoke on the editorial 2 days back, when we spoke of different policies for the energy pricing in India for solar and the conventional fuel, and cross-sector linkages. All right. So when you look at the energy transition outlook, don't look at it from the perspective of a question. The question could be a theme like this. Discuss the need for energy transition and pathways to achieve these transitions to reach the climate target. And even if this is not the question, even if the question is a little different from here, a little twisted, what are the challenges? Challenges in energy transition, opportunities in energy transition, and how to utilize this. So way out. So give some wisdom here. 3 things. So challenges. Remember the challenge in India, per capita consumption is low, import dependent. We are using, the transition is in the negative direction, right? The accessibility, affordability, efficiency, equity, all of them do not exist in a country like India. We don't have planning, technology is low, सारा data है आपके पास, right? Opportunities do exist because we have got huge population base. We are energy hungry as a nation. We will be importing more, either it is technology or it is fuel. So we need more technology rather than more imported fuel. And what is the way out? Start planning. Start creating avenues for alternate energy creation in the country. Plan is the Panchamrit for us. That's it. So that's how we cover energy transition outlook 2022. So look at this report as your resource, as a resource which you can utilize in answer. And in one of the editorials today, I provided 2 questions from UPSC. I had some time to share with you that these 2 questions were asked. They were directly linked to the editorial. And so will this question be. Quite a few questions from every year will get linked to energy transition. Energy is a part of economic development. It's a part of society developing itself. See, when we talk of energy transition, can we also look at India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh providing energy to each other, transiting into a cleaner domain altogether. Bhutan doesn't want to be carbon intensive country, but then it is energy deficient overall. It is energy rich. That's absolutely true. It has got a lot of rivers which can utilize HEP and sell it to India. Why wouldn't India participate? Why wouldn't Bhutan want to gain revenues? They would want this. So just like Southeast Asia has an energy transition map for itself and energy consumers, energy market developed for itself, India can do that as well in South Asia, in BIMSTEC economies. All right. So let's look at some questions if you have here. Friends, you people are appreciating the new format of current affairs discussion. I like that because it's in fact appreciating me. That's why I like it. Having said that, I want these inputs from you people. ये मेरे को ऑफिस से ना आए. You people tell me this input. That will be a great way to move forward, right? So that's how we will be able to serve you in better. Ask questions. No, ask questions on those topics you're not aware of. So do look at the 2 editorial. That's very important, which we have discussed in the offline videos. You will be able to see that in a short while. Okay, and keep updating about your status of preparation for pre-exam. And how are you planning? Are you attempting the CSAT paper 2 test or not? What about the paper 1, GS paper 1, CSAT paper 1, that is the GS paper? Are you attempting tests on that or not? And are you evaluating the percentage of fluke or tukka getting correct? Are you evaluating kitne sahi ho rahe hain? How many are getting wrong? Keep sharing that update in the chat section. Anybody who is viewing offline or online, keep sharing that, because through sharing we will understand the possibility of something which is more than what we know. Okay. So appreciate the discipline during these days. I appreciate the discipline if you have during these days. Kriti, thank you for sharing this discipline. I think Netra also had shared that she is very disciplined about this. Okay. Bhavani, welcome back. Majinder, good evening. Manjinder, good evening to you. Amlan says reliability falls during rainy season. Reliability of what energy? Solar energy falls during rainy season. Reliability of coal also falls during rainy season because of the coal seams, coal beds getting all flooded. See? So good input there. 99% of world population breathes poor quality air. Absolutely. All because we have not transited well. And another report said that more people are supposed to die because of breathing of the bad quality air. Millions of people die because of bad quality air, premature deaths because of air impacts. So adaptation gap report and production gap report. Another one, forgot that again. Okay, anyhow. So Amlan says, please use another color. Which is your favorite color? Amlan, which is the color to be used when we speak of yellow and its background and black and its background? You people tell me, because I am the one who writes, but you are the one who views it. So let me know. Okay, Tiasha asks how to approach CSAT preparation. Tiasha and all the other people who are also looking at paper 2 preparation, do one thing. Just one thing is the most important for you people all. If it is your first attempt or your second attempt, you must, before anything, attempt the CSAT 2 paper. The CSAT 2, that is the aptitude test paper, English comprehension, the mathematical ability questions, and related to decision making, all whatever the 4-5 sets of questions are. Attempt 2-3 of UPSC paper itself. No UPSC type, but UPSC previous year question, 3-4 years, and then gauge your performance there. If you are able to score, say 40%, 45, 50%, which is, and if you're able to feel the confidence for yourself, then you need not put a lot of thrust in those sections. But if you see that there's some shortcoming, some area of concern, you can try looking at. See, this is not the paper where you will need to seek competing marks. This is a qualifying paper. So all you need to do is focus on some questions which are helping you qualify the paper. Don't leave any area, but look at your strengths. If your strength is comprehension, so practice that more. If there are 30 questions and you're able to do well, maybe 25 questions, focus on them first. But you must also ensure that all sections are done. Mathematical ability, English comprehension, all the other sections are also done. Because what happens if English becomes tough this year, which is getting tougher? So approach this CSAT paper 2 by attempting at least 2 to 3 question papers and evaluating your output. After that, start reworking on which sections are more important for you, right? Which are scoring, or which are the ones which are challenging. Proportionate time to be given. This is only qualifying, but then people do not qualify. People do well in the paper 1. I've met people who have done very well in paper 1, scoring 120, 130, and far above the cutoff. However, they got disqualified in paper 2. So this should not happen. This should never happen, right? So start with this. Okay, start with this, and then you see that how you can dedicate more time to paper 2 if required. All right. Emission. Thank you, Emission. Thank you, Netra. Hima says, now they've found microplastic in human lungs also. Yeah. Microplastics that time there was a confusion between the Netherlands scientists as to if the microplastics are getting transported or not, but they are actually getting transported, absorbed, and moving through the blood vessels. That is true. Red is better. Okay, thank you. I will use red. More the wavelength, better the visibility. Okay. Background is black. Okay, yellow color on black is good, but then when I use this slide, then using red is good. All right, thank you for this input. Now if you people like this initiative, share some love through likes, comments and shares, and if you have questions, doubts, want to suggest something, feel free to comment on the comment section. And right now this has been the CRISPR section, but then what is required for you to as well prepare crisp notes. Okay, so with this, we will meet you tomorrow evening with a round of current affairs. If you're looking at the newspapers and you don't understand what is the meaning of any term, anything that has been used in economy, society or international relations, give me a while, just point out the question and I will get back to you all. All right. So Kriti also says black on yellow and yellow on black. Okay. Okay. So Tiyasha, Kriti, Hima, Ashish, Amlan, all of you, thank you and good night. I will see you all tomorrow evening. All right, Netra, everybody, good night.